Hello, and welcome to Main Street News. Main Street News is here to provide accurate news to help citizens affect change in their local government and beyond. Being nice is overrated. It is time to be real. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. The time to step up and step in is now. So please come join me, Katie, over on Main Street News to discuss Ohio politics and beyond. I hope to see you there. Good evening, all of my late night people, and I am Katie. Welcome to Main Street News, and if you're a returning guest, thank you for coming back. I want to finish up, I'm just coming live tonight to finish up the first half of my episode. I had to leave earlier, so I wanted to get that going, and so I don't have a big gap on my podcast platforms. We are going to get right into it. We left off with the state auditor asking Alan Close of Cleveland Communications Inc. if he was more mad about, if his belief was if Dave Moore was more mad about the process than over the actual contract itself, about, how it was a no bid, the process of, how CCI was pushing it. Now, when he was interviewed, they had not, I believe, it was 122, I believe. So he was not yet, was he? Well, let me look real quick because I want to be sure when I say this. Yeah, the contract was not yet passed. He was interviewed January 27th of 2022. So the contract wasn't passed yet. So his belief is like, do you think Dave's mad at the process? Or do you believe he just doesn't like L3 Harris radios that CCI is a vendor of and, is just somehow, against you all? So we're going to go right back into the Alan Close interview. And like I said earlier, we're not going to play every, there's too many recordings to play every single one. Alan Close is important because he is the owner of the company who is suing the county over the contract being rescinded a little over 2 weeks after it was passed. So we're going to get back into that. I'm going to share my screen, share the audio. If you're joining me late night, thank you. Catch me early morning. Good morning. Sometimes it's easier to get it done now. Here we go. We're going here. This might, to my podcast people, you might be double hearing a minute here, and I'm going to try to fix it during editing, but here we go.
Policy and procedure, meaning, was he upset? Was he upset? It wasn't. Well, I guess, do you characterize that as saying that he didn't want this countywide project as a project, or was he upset with the process?
I would go back to the second presentation that we made prior to that, where it was him and Commissioner Lundy that were in the presentation, and Michelle Hung didn't make that one.
Mm-hmm.
The questions being asked by Commissioner Moore were all, because of my 32 years dealing with Motorola and the Marks people, I recognized the questions, and I believe all three of the commissioners were at a Marks presentation that morning.
Okay.
We were in the afternoon, and the questions coming from him were all Marks type questions.
Okay.
We answered them and gave him every reason to go with our idea, and then couple that to the way he was acting in the meeting on the fourth floor. Those two tidbits of information told me that he wasn't interested in a Harris solution for the county. Whether he was okay with Motorola, I can't tell you. I don't know, because he never
I'm stopping right there. Well, maybe Dave Moore wasn't okay with the Harris solution during that June 14th meeting because he thought he was going to discuss whatever was on the itinerary or in the email, and he gets bombarded with wanting Michelle and Harry and Mission Critical Partners, the supposed vendor, wanting to award a $6.4 million no bid contract to one company. And then when he starts asking his vendor that is supposed to be non-biased or not promoting lobbying for one company or another, is now recanting from the 2018 study where they said marks because of interoperability, to now saying that they want to, they've been helping facilitate this countywide district radio system, and wants the county to finish the 5-city project, which is nothing. They're two separate entities. They've never been together in funding for radios or a infrastructure system. It's always kind of been up to the cities to purchase their own radios, and Alan Close is a radio vendor. So I think Dave was more mad about the fact and the audacity of Michelle and Harry and Mission Critical Partners and Alan Close to invite him to a meeting, not even introduce themselves, and then go right ahead and try to say, like, let's give him this $6.4 million contract, and we're going to use ARPA COVID money to do it. I think he was more mad about that. And then when the affair blew up and all this blew up in their faces, and she abandoned her Republican counterpart, she meaning Commissioner Hung, and ditched Moore to then team up with the Democrat who was going to help her push this contract, the Democrat who was running for re-election that year and needed the AFL-CIO support, the union support, and the emergency services support. I don't know. Sounds like it.
Never made any of those
Okay,
comments.
that's fair. Well, so I guess,
But he didn't make any comments specific to the procurement process.
okay, that's
That
what
he
I was
did
going to
not
say.
do.
Okay, so, but you don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, whether he had an issue with your product or an issue with the process. You're just assuming based on the questions you were asked
That he was a proponent.
that he was
For
a
the mark
proponent for the
system.
mark system.
Correct.
Okay.
I have no other knowledge of anything in his mind except what I could read from his body language and his questions from.
Yeah, so there's nobody's told you, hey, he's got a,
No, in
he's got
fact-
some kind of deal with Marks, or he's a Marks guy, or,
I'm sure this comment is probably part of your investigation that I'll just lay on you now. After he got what satisfaction from his consultant, he had to excuse himself for a meeting. And as he left the room and the door closed, and it was my salesman, Russ Scarborough, Michelle Hung, Harry Williamson, and two unidentified ladies from the county sitting across the table from us. I looked right at Michelle Hung and I said, I don't think he's on board with the project, and the project being adding the additional 5 sites and tying them to the original
the
3.
total project.
The
Whether
Harris
you
project.
did it, or Marks did it, or anybody.
No, from my perspective.
From just
The Harris project.
Okay, all
Right.
right.
One of those 2 ladies subsequently turns out to be his administrative aide and went back and told him about that. Now, Michelle's comment to me was, I said, if he's not going to be on board, you need to reach out to Matt Lundy, the other commissioner, to see if you can get him on board with the project.
Gotcha.
And she said,
So for the past 3 years, when Dave Moore said that June meeting, I left. My administrative assistant was there. My administrative assistant heard Alan Close look at Michelle Hung and say, "You need to reach out to Matt Lundy now," which even like Chief Fire, Fire Chief Betza does anyways on the other side. But says you now need to reach out to Lundy, and Amy went and told Dave Moore that. Dave Moore has been saying that for, 4 years now. Alan Close is now out of the mouth of himself saying he did say that. Maybe not in the exact same way Dave said it. I believe the way Dave said it was pretty much it. And, Dave even says in this interview with the auditor. I give her a little bit of credit at that time, before her affair blew up in her face, before Harry was terminated because of it, before, she did ultimately team up with the Democrat to get this contract through. She said you don't know Lorain County, the Republicans and Democrats do not work together in this county. That lasted, let's see, it was June 14th, so that lasted a little over a month, not even 2 months.
Said, we don't cross party lines in this county. That was her statement back to me, and that's where it dropped.
Okay.
Later on, I found out that Moore was highly incensed, as it was told to me, that I had made this comment and I should apologize to him. So I attempted to apologize to him, and he wouldn't take the apology.
Who told you that he was upset about it?
Michelle and Harry both.
Okay, and that's from some...
Independent, Harry would have said it, and then Michelle would have said it, and they said, reach out to him. And I added I have some messages from Michelle, and I added those in the thumb drive this morning.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So, and you'll see that
Back and
early
forth.
on. Yeah, I couldn't take all of them out and just import it. I had to do screenshots.
Okay.
But they're in there.
Okay, fair enough. So... So he gets upset, you attempt to apologize, and he just says, no, I'm not
He ignores
interested
it,
into it.
yeah.
And then what happens after that?
And I think with that email's in there as well.
Okay. What happened after that?
I don't know, at another meeting?
I mean, well, at some point, it hits the fan,
Well, the
right?
scandal broke.
Okay, and
Yeah.
did that happen subsequent to all this stuff that was going on?
It was after that meeting. On the
Okay,
fourth
and
floor.
then, so the scandal breaks, and I'm not getting into, whatever it is whatever it is, that's
Yeah.
irrelevant. But
No, Mr. Clark, it's not irrelevant. And you want to know why it's not irrelevant? Because these two people, a commissioner, did not disclose to her Republican counterpart or the other commissioner that she was having an affair with this man, then hired him. It was the deciding vote to hire him as the 911 director. He got her endorsement from the unions before her election, so helped her cross that finish line. And a Republican getting a union endorsement is very, very unlikely in this county. And then they worked together. They were in these meetings with Dana Gollner, with Alan Close, with the fire chiefs, together. Michelle was working and overseeing 911. So they were colluding, they were conspiring, and Michelle was receiving services, and I think Harry was telling Michelle what she needs to do in order to get this contract through. And after this June meeting, when it kind of blew up in the face, and Michelle couldn't secure this contract moving forward because of David Moore's reaction to this and not having that partnership with Lundy yet, there's a big fight between Harry and Michelle. And that's when she confesses to Tom Williams in June 26 meeting. It was in June 26 meeting where she says she took a shot and had to pop a pill before her meeting to calm down because of the fight, where it was disclosed that there was a video, that her and Harry had a video of the prosecutor's mother performing fellatio on Harry Williams, the 911 director, previous to his fling with the commissioner, to Tom Williams. And when they, basically broke up over all this kind of stuff a little bit. And then a couple weeks later, they're going down to Cincinnati and looking at the Marks radio system with mission critical partners to then come back and continue to push the CCI contract. Make it make sense, people. But the auditors like to say, oh, this has nothing to do with it. That affair has everything to do with it. Everything to do with it. That's the only reason I care that they were having an affair. Otherwise, I wouldn't. But it was a working relationship. She was his boss. She should have never hired him. She should have never voted to hire him. She abstained in firing him.
But subsequent to that, what happened with the project itself? Is there still communication going on as to whether or not this project's going to move forward, or if it dies, or?
Well, after Harry was fired and Michelle was scandalized, everything pretty much stalled at that point, as far as the countywide project goes.
Okay.
Then Jeff Young comes in, and I had prior knowledge of him and contact with him as the fire chief from Sheffield Village. He was
there during this 5-city thing.
Yes.
Okay.
He was instrumental in shepherding the 5-city project with Dwayne Streeter, for the safety director from Avon.
Gotcha.
The two of them were selected by the mayors and by their counterparts to interface with me for the project and building the radio system. And I sent them every Friday at about 2 o'clock. I sent them a weekly update. Here's what we did. Here's what we didn't do. Here's what's going on. Here's when expected completion dates are.
Okay.
So Jeff then retires and moves into the position he's in now. So I've had numerous conversations with Jeff for the projects that are moving forward.
But specifically the countywide project is
Well, it's kind of
in
stalled.
flux.
It's stalled while everybody sorts out what they're doing, and then Moore makes his diatribe on, I think it was December 8th, he blew up the meeting, the county commissioner meeting, and the newspaper got a hold of it, and here we are.
Okay.
That's when I started collecting all the data, because I knew people were going to come talk to us about it.
But what December 8th meeting, Katie? It was great. It was just great. Moore just laid it all out. All of her actually, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to play it because it is just, what do you mean? This is when Alan Close knew he had a problem with David Moore. Right here. This is my website, guys. If you go to No One Controversy, this is the beginning of the timeline. Now, I have a 75-page timeline going to various agencies and will be published after it is sent to those various agencies. Now here's Harry Williamson's turn. Well, because it became political, and you just had a scandal, and you can't now get contracts through because she is compromised. Sorry, I gotta get to it. December 8th. Here we go. Load this video. This you guys was a little longer, but I just missed it.
Like a mini year in review for people. I'm going to probably talk about some disturbing things at first, but we're going to close on some positive notes and have this board move forward. Publicly asked for her to resign and made a motion to remove her as president. But I believe there's much more that the most people outside of this county government that they do not know. There's so much more at play here than just an employer-employee sex scandal. This is about county tax dollars being misspent. This is about a breach of public trust. And this is about a commissioner acting as an advocate for a vendor to secure contracts. Her conduct violates Ohio law, specifically Ohio Revised Code 102.03, 2921.42, and 2921.43. So let's confront the undeniable facts. First, by her own admission, when Michelle was deciding vote to hire Harry Williamson as the 911 director for $80,000 a year, she was in an undisclosed sexual adulterous relationship with him. Harry Williamson was employed at Century Tel that was involved in helping wiring the 911 facility in the beginning. And the president of the FLCIO, when her and Harry met on the campaign trail in 2020, Michelle has admitted to multiple people that the relationship turned sexual on the 2020 campaign trail and before the November election. However, when she was the deciding vote to hire Harry on January 4th, she remained silent on her disqualifying entanglement. Some may try to excuse or minimize that conflicted vote. But second, against the advice of legal counsel, in the face of many violations of Ohio law, Hung fought for many hours to try and save Williamson from termination to no avail. Even though Williamson was let go for cause, she was a deciding vote to allow Williamson to wrongfully receive unemployment benefits. Now, as these events were unfolding and her motives were becoming clear, I felt a responsibility to the taxpayers to review all of the decisions and dollars spent at 911 this year. For example, we, as a board, voted 3-0 on May 5th, 2021, on item number 794. This vote allowed $30,465 of county funds to be spent from the maintenance account for the following purchase. Burns Road, 911 Annex SBO. You'll see this on our requisitions. It stands for Super Blanket Purchase Order. April through December of 2021 for all labor, material, and equipment to perform interior renovations and alterations to Lorain County 911 Center. On its face, this appears legitimate. But after my investigation, I uncovered that the Burns Road building is only 3 years old. Why would it need interior renovations? As I requested all of the bids on this project, I was trying to confirm if rumors were true about the construction work that was performed there. What I found out was the board was tricked into voting to turn Harry's office into a quiet, soundproof office with zero light penetration. Why does a county director's office need to be soundproof and shielded from any light? Why would what goes on in a director's office need to be soundproof? Some may say $30,000 for an office is not that much. But let me now share with you the larger issues here. To really understand the complexity of this issues, and there's several issues here, I will have to identify a few of the list of these characters. The three of us, county commissioners, the fire officials and police officials, Lorain County business Vasu, who was a vendor, Cuyahoga County business and union shop Cleveland Communications, a vendor, the previous director and former AFL-CIO president Harry Williamson, and Dick Miller, with the Department of Administrative Services for the state of Ohio, a field operations manager. Now, a lot of wheels were in motion prior to 2021. A so-called independent consulting firm was hired, and alliances were formed to ensure what I now believe were predetermined outcomes. I want to be clear. The fire departments and the police departments have their own favorite radio systems. I do not wish to be in the middle of that debate, and my concerns do not arise based on the merits of two radio systems. My concerns are based on what I consider to be inappropriate efforts to swing over $6 million in a no-bid contract to one particular small vendor outside of Lorain County. In fact, to ensure that all the fire and police departments can have the radio systems of their choice, this board recently voted to allow 2 antennas to be installed at 911 Tower on Burns Road. Those antennas now give the local communities the ability to decide on their own which system is best for their coverage. In fact, in the commissioner's last newsletter mailed out to Lorain County households promoting Cleveland Communications, having an antenna put up on their 911 tower, which I personally stated I did not support that. I crossed it out, but it was sent out with taxpayers' dollars about one antenna on one vendor being put up on a tower. But there seems to be more here at play than competing radio systems. Some of these issues I cannot share due to the current litigation between Tom Williams and Commissioners Hung and Lundy concerning his termination. But what I can share is this. The former 911 director was also the AFL-CIO president at the time, who also helped Hung receive her union endorsements. Together, the two of them acted as lobbyists for Cleveland Communications. Together, Cleveland Communications, Hung and Williamson attended city council meetings in support of this out-of-town company. Hung also made phone calls to city council members, lobbying for votes to swing contract dollars to CCI. All of her actions appear to be clear violations of state statute. In short, a county commissioner is not permitted to leverage their influence to help a vendor secure contracts and revenues. In addition to what I consider inappropriate lobbying, both Michelle and Harry used their positions of trust and responsibility in Lorain County to provide a competitive advantage to CCI. They required Dick Miller, the DAS field operations managers for the Marks radio system, a competitor of CCI, to reveal to them in detail all the information and capabilities of Marks that would be extremely valuable to a competitor like CCI when bidding against Marks. In fact, the DAS realized something was not right with Hung and Williamson's requests. They are emails showing DAS inquiring why Harry and Michelle needed this information after it was given. There was no reply. That is likely because there was no appropriate excuse for their request. When I talked to Mr. Miller at DAS, he expressed his concerns about the release of valuable, competitive information to Hung and Williamson. In fact, Mr. Miller expressed concern that Marks and the public bidding process was possibly being compromised. I share Mr. Miller's concerns. Public bidding exists and is structured to protect the integrity of county contracts and public dollars. I take anything that threatens that integrity quite seriously. So on April 28th, 2021, this board approved a contract with CCI for 3-0. At the time, I thought the contract had been properly bid. I have since learned that I was wrong. Former 911 Director Harry Williamson reached out to a Lorain County business, Vasu, and requested a quote for 911. They came in at $103,165.08 on April 5th. On April 7th, 2 days later, CCI came in with a competing bid at $102,118.08. I have now learned this bid process did not follow the county's procurement policy and was not publicly bid with the properly sealed bids. Instead, Vasu was encouraged to put all his cards on the table to Hung and Williamson, the advocates of CCI, and CCI miraculously came in 2 days later with the low bid. I do not believe in this kind of coincidences. I believe CCI was given an unfair advantage over another vendor, a Lorain County vendor. But what I found, the events on June 14th, even more disturbing. That is what really started that is not what it should be. At 8:30 a.m. on June 14th, I received an email asking me to attend a build-out and radio project meeting. It was a very detailed email with a lot of data in anticipation that plans would be shown and addressed that day. But when I sat down for the 1:30 meeting, the meeting did not follow the agenda. Instead, it was a pressure play by Michelle and Harry for my support of a new communications for $6.5 million. I was very troubled and asked a lot of questions when neither of them could explain why we were meeting to decide public business in violation of the sunshine laws for the benefit of an individual vendor they called Mission Critical, the consultant who was hired and recommended CCI products, who tried to use state statute 307.86 as a way to circumvent public bidding. I told them I am well aware of such statutes and that I was not about to do a $6.5 million no bid contract. At that point, I left the meeting. According to those who remained behind, once I was gone, the president of CCI told Hung, looks like you're going to have to form an alliance with Lundy. In what universe does this county want a vendor directing a commissioner's actions for its own financial benefit? It was clear that day that something was really wrong there. This is when the soap opera narrative returned. Days after, Hung failed to deliver this $6.5 million no bid contract to CCI. Williamson had harsh words for her, distressing her and making her upset. Who does she turn to for support but her former campaign manager and the county administrator, Tom Williams? Upset about Harry's inappropriate text, Hung spills her guts to Tom and enlists his support to straighten out Harry. After visiting Hamilton County's 911 in July to review the Harris radio systems, there were some taxpayers on the taxpayers' dime. Hung and Williamson resumed their relationship with full force. Over the ensuing week or so, Tom Williams thinks about everything he confided in and goes to the prosecutor's office. We all know what happens next. 20 years ago, when I was here,
Harry was terminated. That's what he
means.
means.
Lorain County Justice Center that led to a commissioner and a few vendors going to jail. As a commissioner, our job is the budget authority for the county and a watchdog over spending for county funds. So hopefully, from here on out, we can eventually put these latest episodes behind us. But when I took office, it's all about economic development and creating a healthy environment for our county. Our state is shrinking, and as you saw today's meeting, our county is growing. Thank you. That's the end of my report, and I shortened it. So,
Mr. Lundy, do you have a report today?
Yes, I do. First, I want to thank everyone for helping to decorate the room here, and I think Commissioner Hung had some input on that. I've never had these bulbs up above my head before, but as long as they're not too heavy and they don't cut loose, we're
No,
good.
they're plastic.
So, but,
Worry about stuff above your head.
I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I just brought the supplies.
no, it looks great, So definitely puts us in the holiday mood, that's for sure. So, just wanted to,
I'm sorry. Okay, like I laugh because this is I got it. I laugh because you have a commissioner who just went over 11 minutes worth of corrupt behavior by one commissioner, and the response from Matt Lundy and the prosecutor's office representative Dan Petticord is Lundy is I love these Christmas decorations, Michelle. I would have, if I were Dave in that moment, I would have lost my ever loving shit. I would have been like, are you fucking kidding me? That's your reaction? That's your reaction to corrupt behavior? Like, I'm basically saying, I want to move forward, but I want to put it on record what this woman's done, because Dave is solo in this, bro. Like, he is odd man out of a 3-board commission, and he knows it at this point. Now, this is 6 months before the interview I played in the beginning of this episode. Tell me they're not just like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm sorry we had to take that little break with Dave, but that December 8th meeting is a key meeting. But that's when Alan Basu, like he said in his interview with the auditor, which is why we went into it, that's when he knew he had to start documenting and making sure he was covering, I call it SIA, cover your ass, covering himself. And no offense, Alan, you did horrible. I know you're watching. You did a horrible covering yourself, because your emails and the behavior, I mean, you covered maybe yourself, but you left these public officials just wide open. But to each person, save yourself.
Fair enough. So it's subsequent to the quote-unquote scandal, though, did Commissioner Hung take a loan interest, for lack of a better way to put it? Did she spearhead this, trying to move this project forward on her own?
She's been a proponent of it. She was the 911 liaison to the commissioner body. She was in charge of the comm center for the first year that she was in office. So she was very aware of what was going on, and she was very active in trying to push it forward.
And that was when you say she was the liaison there, was that a specific designation, or is that just something she took on her own?
No, it's the three of them. The three commissioners vote on who represents what every year.
Fair enough.
Right now, it's Matt Lundy. He's the president of the commission, plus he's also the 911 liaison.
Gotcha. And so
Michelle put Matt Lundy, the Democrat, when she's a Republican, Dave's a Republican, but the Democrat in charge of 911 during the time where she's going to start pushing the 911 contract to be done by the end of the year that Alan Close is talking right now. A lot changes in a year.
I think you said this already. I just want to make sure I'm clear. At this point, the project is kind of out there.
It's out there, yeah.
Nobody's making any moves.
They're trying. Jeff's trying with Matt Lundy. Matt Lundy wants this resolved very soon. He is in favor of what the fire chiefs are in favor of, and that's finishing what I started.
Matt Lundy's in favor because at this point, at this year, he's in an election. He is up against Jeff Riddell, who ultimately wins the election, but he is election season and he needs the endorsement of the unions and the fire chiefs, and he's not trying to piss anybody off, and he is trying to make friends. So Matt needs their support. They need Matt's support. They leverage that. Michelle was not knowing her Republican counterpart was against this contract. She then, whatever's good for her, goose for the gander, she drops him like a bat out of hell, and now is partners with the Democrats. Just a few months ago, she said Democrats and Republicans don't work together in this county. But, what does Matt Lundy have? Labor needs labor. Michelle's the only Republican that Dave was not endorsed by labor unions. Michelle was the only Republican endorsed by labor unions. Who was Harry at the time? The president of the AFL-CIO, the biggest labor organization in this county. Huge amount of power. Huge amount of power.
Okay.
Michelle Hung is obviously still in favor of it. David Moore votes no on everything that the two of them vote yes on.
Well, I mean,
Smart
at some
man.
point, if they were in favor of both of them, they could just outvote him and move forward. What's your understanding of why that's not happening?
Politics.
Because and this is what he's not saying, because it's an election season and Matt Lundy is waiting to see the outcome of this before he moves forward, because he's not trying to cause any controversy before his election that he lost by 136 votes. 136 votes saved us millions.
That's politics. They want, they have hired, again, modified the contract with Mission Critical to do a quick study that should be done by Tuesday of
Okay.
next week.
Okay.
To give, Commissioner Lundy is requested, and he wants a little more information to make sure that him moving forward in whatever capacity they want to do that, whether they buy the system or they just have me build it, they want to make sure that everything is supported by their consultant, so it gives him political cover. Because he knows David Moore is going to come at him in some
Fair.
way or another.
I get it. Okay.
Now, it's really interesting to me that Alan says this, because let me cue this up for you guys. And I'm not going to play the entire thing because it's a little long, but I want to show you. I'm going to play a part of it. This is on, so he's talking about Alan Close. The interview is on 1/27/22, January 27th, 2022. Well, and he's talking about how Matt Lundy wants this study to be done. Well, 2 months later, Mission Critical Partners, that doesn't get done. You know what I mean? When he's talking about it, 2 months later, Mission Critical Partners, this contract is actually brought up to the board itself, which I found really interesting, because this is the first of Dave Moore seeing this, and his reaction to it is shocked, because this consulting firm that is not supposed to be lobbying for any vendor puts in their agreed contract to, you know, take a new look at this for Commissioner Lundy 2 months prior. Alan Close knew this. Very weird. How does he know that inside information? Puts Cleveland Communications' name to secure, basically, Mission Critical Partners is being hired to secure Cleveland Communications' contract. And how does Dave respond to this?
Excel in showing respect for each other. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Lundy,
Here.
Commissioner Hung,
Here.
Commissioner Moore.
Here.
We got a loud volume here today, don't we?
turned me up today.
Okay.
Okay. Number one, investments,
So move.
Second.
discussion. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye. So move.
Second.
discussion. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung.
Yes.
Number three, transfers,
So move.
Second.
discussion. Commissioner Lundy,
Aye.
Commissioner Hung,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Number four, advances, repayments, Serena. Number five,
Now I got the whole mission critical.
Copy of it.
Now I got the whole thing here. I got the contract last night. Issue with Cleveland Communications where we were a couple $100 under the $50,000 limit. I don't know why this is not up here under, should be under 911, not under requisitions. This is a contract that somehow came under $4.64 under the $50,000. And it's going to Mission Critical. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I don't see why we're hiring this company. I don't understand why we're hiring this company right now. I was told that they're an independent contractor, or they're independent, not contractor, what's the word? An independent analysis of our 911 is what we've hired them for. Does that seem to be what we're doing here?
Mission Critical has been a consultant to 911 over the years.
Sorry.
Mission Critical was asked to take a very critical look at the whole radio systems and the connectivity with 911.
I think a couple of things. One, a contractor, they provide, as I understand it, professional services to the county dealing with the emergency response infrastructure that the county maintains, expands, whatever. I don't, this is the first time I personally
He's looked at it. First time he's saying it's the first time that they've looked at this consulting agreement.
services as a vendor, and this is something we've been doing for a number of years. I don't know that the amount has anything to do with, I don't see anything wrong with the amount. I don't know that it's a biddable contract anyway, because it's professional services, but
They're supposed to be an outside vendor giving us advice, correct? That's
Independent.
the one meeting I've had with Mission Critical, that's exactly what they are.
Right.
The one, but I've only met the guy once, so personally. If the board wants to, I can't, I mean, I can.
an independent agency. Here's a line in the first sentence. We are hiring them to integrate Cleveland Communications Harris system, Harris, which we have not as a board decided yet on which radio system we're going to use. This is a backdoor way to get back to that $6.5 million without a no bid contract. Because I was in that meeting on June 14th when they said, you don't need to bid. We can pick Cleveland Communications. I've had discussions with this board saying this is Mission Critical is not an independent, no skin in the game contractor. I got 7 pages of this company that we are paying today $50,000 to help CCI backdoor their way into our 911 system. What is really going on here? What do we really need? Do we really need to spend the millions of dollars? And then it's page after page. It's CCI, CCI, CCI. This is not from what I can read, it's a consulting services to integrate Cleveland Communications, which we haven't decided yet. So we're going to spend all this money. It's going to lay out the whole plan. The county, we're paying it. And then at the end of the day, guess what? It's going to go to CCI. This is a backdoor way. I don't like it. I'm not approving it, but I don't like the way how it got set up. It got put on requisitions. This should have been set up under a vote under 911 so we could have a public discussion about it, but it's not. This is something, if we needed this, if this board decides that's the way we're going to go, that's hire, and you hire this type of a program. But you don't do the program first, not knowing which radio systems we're going to decide to go with. Whether or not it meets, it's another one of those just hit the underneath the $50,000
$4
threshold. Okay.
Below.
I can see with our prosecutor what I understand that logic, but the logic I don't like is I've been told for a year, don't worry, these guys have no skin in the game. They're going to give us some great advice. They're not really leaning one way or the other. And for the last 7 months, I've disagreed. And once again, it's in writing today that this company is being hired to bring in a vendor. We should wait until this board decides on which way the 911 is going to be going with the radio systems. And that's a debate for another day, which I am being told or hearing that it's going to come up in the next couple of weeks once our prosecutor goes through all the contracts.
And they have been asked in those meetings to take a look at the radio systems and see if this makes sense or doesn't make sense before we make any investment. No final decision has been made related to Marks or Harris. They've been asked to look at.
Now, Alan Close knew this 2 months previous to this meeting because he's talking about it in the auditor's investigation. How?
Through a critical lens and see, since we've received overwhelmed them, they've been asked to take a look at it and to figure out, is this something that makes sense? They've even looked at the contracts and whether integration makes sense. So no final decision's been made. There's no very strong independent contractor that has guided us through a lot of these communications issues. They're well respected in their field. They do not work for Marks or Harris. They give us the county's point of view. The back of their jersey says Lorain County. Lorain County's interest, it doesn't say county. So I've been in those discussions. They've understood their marching orders to do thorough research, not to just say, yes, they're going to make a substantial investment, regardless of what individuals are bringing forward recommendations, that we make the best decision possible for the taxpayers. So, you're certainly entitled to your opinion and your perception. I just don't think right. Go. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
that's okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I'd like to point out for the public so they understand historically and factually what happened last year.
We're not going to listen to her dissertation. I cut it forward to where it actually matters.
The issue is they are not an independent.
Board wants to, I can't, I mean, I can be happy to talk to Casey about it.
I already talked to, that's not the issue. The issue is they are not an independent agency. Here's a line in the first sentence. We are hiring the Communications Harris system into 911, which we have not as a board decided yet on which radio system we're going to use. This is the backdoor. That's what my concern is, and I should wait until this board decides which way the 911 is going to be going with the radio systems. And that's a debate for another day, which I
wasn't skipping something. So, there he is, Alan Close, 2 months prior, talking about this system right here. But how did he know that the MCP was doing that Lundy wanted that done 2 months prior before it gets put on the requisitions, which when they put stuff in requisitions instead of what he means that by that is that they put it under their billings instead of putting it under 911 business on their agenda, where then they would as a board have discussion about it instead of just approving the $49,000 bill. And how the hell did Alan Close know about this private consulting agency doing that? And why was this private consulting agency trying to lobby and tie up this contract for CCI when they're supposed to be private and independent from any company or organization?
So are there any other projects in this whole 911 thing that you were involved in?
Yes, there was one other one.
What's that
That's 4 additional dispatch consoles for the comm center.
one? In the county 911 center?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that. How'd you get involved in that?
Harry Williamson asked us if we could install the telex consoles and sell them telex consoles. And at the time, I was a telex dealer. So I said, yes, we can do that.
Okay.
We'd been
We don't
working,
do that anymore?
we had been working on a project with telex for about a year prior to this that relates to Huron County and the Huron County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
They put a Harris radio system in 2020, and they wanted to keep their telex consoles in place. So we worked with telex to perfect the interface to this, and months and just a whole year trying to get telex brought to the table to make this happen. We thought we had it, and it was in telex's court to change a couple of little things, 3 or 4 little items, and the whole thing would have worked just fine. Well, Sheriff Corbin got tired of waiting and said, screw this, I want Symphony consoles, which are a Harris product, and they're designed to work with our radio system. So we're in the process of swapping that stuff out.
Right now?
Yes,
Okay.
currently.
Okay.
When Harry came to me and said, well, we want 4 more consoles, And he says, I'm projecting that I'm gonna need, what'd he say, 8, I think, beyond that?
Okay.
I said, well, Huron County is going to take out their telex consoles, and they want some sort of value for them. So they'd be, and there was a definite interest between the two parties to do that.
Because Allen Closebreed, a couple months prior, sold those consoles to Huron County with the L3 Harris radios, and it wasn't working. So they wanted to recoup some kind of return on investment for these consoles that had been sitting there because the Huron County guy lost his shit. Like, the shit's not working. So what did Allen Close do? Knowing it's not working, and there's going to be problems with these telex consoles for another 2 years after this, and I will get into that in another episode, but he's then sold it to us, and he's not even a telex vendor. And he knew it wasn't going to work.
Okay.
We would have brokered it, been the third party to make sure everything was accounted for on the Huron County side.
Oh, and even worse, Harry Williamson got him this bid because he gave him Vastu's original proposal. 2 days later, Allen Close comes in $1,000 less. They rigged that too.
And then everything came to the Lorain County side.
Okay.
So there's 2 parallel projects going there. Harry asked me to give him a quote on the new telex consoles, the initial 4.
Okay.
He sent me an email, and on that email, there was the quote from Vasu Communications, and he says, can you beat that? I said, yes, I can beat that, and I did.
Okay. Why would he send you a quote for Vasu?
I have no idea. I didn't request it. He voluntarily sent it to us, and he said, here's the quote we already have from our current vendor. So I don't know why he did that.
Did you find that to be strange?
It's strange. It's not unheard of, but it's strange. It happens from time to time.
And this is a guy that you didn't know prior to January.
Didn't know.
2021.
I never even heard his name prior to them coming into office.
And he just sends you a quote from a competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go through the bid process for the county for that, or was it just, hey?
There was no bid process.
No bid process at all.
Multiple bids or proposals, at least 2 proposals.
Okay.
Telex isn't, I think there's one other vendor in the area, BNC Communications, that reps for Telex. I don't know if they reached out to them. They may have shared my quote to them. I don't know. But I know that Vasu was a part of it, and so were we.
Okay. And you came in
Lower,
a couple bucks lower,
about $2,000, roughly.
and they give you the project.
They gave us, they voted, the 3 commissioners voted.
Okay.
And a resolution was issued and a purchase order was issued.
Okay. And so is that project completed?
It is completed to a point.
Okay.
During the install, we discovered that the Vasu built the comm center, the 911 center, several years back. And the monitors they're using there are obsolete. You can't get any more of them. So the project stalled because they were going to order 44 new monitors of a brand that we had selected for them. And there was a back and forth, whether they wanted us to buy them and install them all throughout the comm center or their IT people buy them.
Okay.
Right now, it's the IT people that are going to buy them, but they haven't done it yet.
Gotcha.
So I can't finish the project until these new monitors show up.
Fair enough. So, do you have any employees? And again, this is just a question because it's something that I've been told. I don't know whether. Do you have any employees that work here that are related to Mr. Williamson?
Not that I'm aware of. No
Yeah.
one has ever told me that.
Okay. So if I were to tell you that there's some information out there that maybe one or 2 of your employees are related to him somehow, you wouldn't know anything about that.
That would surprise the hell out of me.
Fair enough. Do you have anybody here with last name Williamson?
Nope.
Okay.
I've known all these employees with the exception of 2 that have been here for, I don't know, average about 10 years.
Okay.
Vicky is my girlfriend. She's our bean counter, and she is not related to Harry Williamson. Lisa, the girl you met up front, she's not related to Harry Williamson. Doug Bade and his family that sits in this cube out here, they founded the business. They never knew him either. My son works here. I know he's not related to him.
I would hope so.
I know who he's related to, in other words. Jason Wester is my salesman. He's not related to him in any way. He's never told me that he is.
Okay.
Keith Hemsoth is one of my technicians. He lives in Amherst. I think that's as far as the relationship goes there.
Okay.
Real quick pause. I wanted to show you this email. So I was trying to look for while you guys are listening to this. This is the quote, Alan Jason, latest quote from Vasu on our additional counsels. Can you match or lower with your numbers, Harry? So Harry sent over the quote from Vasu, and it was only two. It was a no bid. Harry called Vasu, asked for a quote, and then contacted Cleveland Communications with Vasu's quote and said, can you go lower? And then the contract was awarded to him. Now, I think there was something up here because Huron County had purchased these councils from Cleveland Communications, to my understanding, knew that they weren't working. Alan knew that they weren't working, needed to recoup some money for Huron County because the guy was pissed about these not working, going with that other system eventually because the system wasn't working. And Harry knew, Alan Close knew these counselors weren't going to work. And I don't even think they got them working until 2024. I'm pretty sure 2023. Don't quote me, but yeah, and you can't give a competitor's, it's unethical to give a competitor's proposal to another competitor and say, can you lower it? And there was no bid, but that's rigging and lobbying and favoring one vendor over another.
Jennifer Granda is not related to Harry. She's Cuban by nature. When all this went crazy.
Fair enough.
So, no, I don't know anyone that's, I don't think so. And I don't think Michelle's been here either. It's all been by telephone or meeting in person with her.
So your communications are cell phone, telephone, emails. That's basically how you communicate.
Yeah.
Are you aware of what Mr. Williamson's background is?
I've heard that he was a union president for the Ford manufacturing plant or one of the plants in Lorain County in the past.
Okay.
That's as far as I know about his background.
And this is you probably won't know, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you know if your sales people or anybody in your company may have had some contact with him relative to other projects? He's a union rep for a community
Oh, he was the union rep for an IT department. He was part of putting that comm center together.
Okay.
In the very beginning, when Vasu was awarded that contract.
Okay.
He was the guy. He worked for the phone company. That's what it was. If there was any contact, Jason Wester, my salesman, might have had it in the context of we were involved in just a very short period of time at the old comm center.
Mm-hmm.
Under the previous administration, before Harry was hired.
Gotcha.
Jason may have bumped into him as a part of that, but we weren't part of that project. Maybe at the beginning of planning or we're going to do this, would you guys look at the project kind of thing? But we would not have met Harry. I don't have any recollection of meeting Harry prior to January of last year.
Okay.
I know it's been said that Michelle's on my payroll, and I can tell you,
I haven't heard that one.
it's been said. She is not on my payroll. I have never paid her a dollar. You can find her campaign finance reports, and you won't find my name on any of that, or Moore's, or Lundy's.
Why would he offer that?
Competitor's name there for years.
On whose?
Vasu. On all of, on at least Lundy's, I would imagine. I don't know about Moore and
Okay.
Hunt.
Give me a minute here. I'm making sure
I'm gonna go get my pop.
Sure.
Hey, yeah, you wanna talk about that now?
Well, he asked about projects, so you might.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you wanna talk about that now?
Well, he asked about projects, so you might as well tell him about that project. Yeah, I think you were getting
Yeah.
that list here, because you asked about it in the subpoena, the
Right.
911 towers.
Yeah.
Unless you want to keep asking about.
No, I just want to make sure, that's okay, we can move to that.
Wanna
I
make
wanna
sure
just-
that-
Yeah, I have
Go
something
ahead.
might pop in my head about the other one, so
Sure.
I'll come back to it. But go ahead, yeah, tell me about that project.
As I mentioned earlier, one of the 3 sites for our east side radio system relies on the 911 tower.
Right.
So I went to Harry and talked to him. I
Keyword
said, I need to
relies.
occupy this tower site. And Jeff's somewhat involved in it because of his
Jeff.
involvement, Jeff Young.
Okay.
Because of his involvement with the 5 City project.
Mm-hmm.
That's a key site for us to use. So we
For
started.
these 5 cities?
Yes.
Regardless if
Regardless
they-
of what the county does.
Okay.
It'll assist the county project too.
Gotcha.
But it's definite for these 3. So I'm like, we gotta figure out how to do this. And this all started after the scandal broke.
Okay,
Because they had already gotten rid of Tom Williams, and they replaced him with the assistant guy. What the hell was his name? The assistant county administrator filled the role for a couple of months.
okay,
He's an attorney, former Army officer, a real ball buster. That guy, I thought he could do a good job for the county and straighten out a lot of the things, but they didn't like him.
Okay.
2 of the commissioners didn't like him. So I'm negotiating this contract with this assistant county administrator, and money is being talked about. How much am I willing to pay? How much should I pay? How much do I think is fair? I threw my number out. He came back with another number and wouldn't come off that number. So we did finally go through the process. We have a contract in place
Okay.
for me to occupy that tower site. Cost me $1,500 a month to be there.
do you occupy tower sites like that in other areas
I have in the past.
in the state?
I
What
have
do
in
you,
the past.
what is the normal fee for that?
And that was the crux of the negotiation with this assistant administrator.
Okay,
I offered $750 a month. I think that's fair.
okay,
He obviously talked to somebody else because he had no concept of what he was talking about.
okay,
He talked to somebody else and said, no, $1,500 is the number we're going to stick with. It could be as high as $3,000 a month. It all depends on the tower owner and what you're putting on the tower and how high you want to be on the tower and how much weight you add to the tower.
right, so I guess my question to you is, if I threw out at you that the number you threw out there, 3,000, somewhere in that general vicinity is the average going rate for tower use in the state of Ohio,
I can't say that's an average.
you don't know? Or
I
you,
could not say that's an average,
based on your experience, or just, you just don't know?
based on my experience.
So what is your experience as far as tower rentals?
Anywhere from $750 to $1,500.
Okay,
There are, the big tower owners, like American Tower, will do their best to rate you.
Okay.
And want to charge you $3,000.
well, I'm specifically talking about government entities,
I
towers.
know a government entity that pays $1 a year to be at an AT&T tower site. Medina County Sheriff's Office, their primary site is the AT&T site at Fenn and Route 3.
Okay.
They pay $1 a year.
Okay,
And you
but-
go from there to anything.
Right, I understand that, but I guess and again, I'm a little bit of a novice here when it comes to these type of systems, so I apologize
Took
for
me
that.
32 years to get here.
I get it. But, so what I'm specifically talking about is if I went to Lorain County and I wanted to use their 911 tower, or I went to Cuyahoga County, or I went to Medina County, and they had their own tower, not off of AT&T or,
Yep.
Joe's Tower or whatever, their own specific tower that they own. What do you find that the government rate is for those, or does it vary?
It varies.
And
It varies
what is
based-
your top and low?
Well, it's based on your negotiation ability.
Okay.
And the need and the location. Medina County does own one tower they built last year. It's a little 120 foot, it would be 5G, or a lot of money to be on anyone's tower.
It's gonna give you, right,
And it's on a nice little piece of ground.
right, city,
To the city.
to just piggyback off their tower.
Did you use it for that? The cell guys probably pay $1,500 to $2,000 a month there for their cell tower equipment that's there.
To the city,
To the city.
to just piggyback off their tower.
Did you use it to rent space on the tower and
Right.
a little bit of ground space? Yeah.
Gotcha, okay. That's
Now, contrast what I'm paying, Marks is paying nothing to be at the same tower site, not $1. Is
Well, how
that
did
fair?
how did that happen? Do you know?
I only know on speculation what I was told,
Okay,
that Marks told the county prosecutor's office that government entities don't charge each other. If that's true, that's a flat out lie. But they're getting $1,500 worth that you can say that's the average at that tower site for nothing. Same equipment, actually there's more antennas. They got 3 antennas on the tower, I have 2. And they have more equipment in the little room at the base of the tower inside the 911 center. I have one little rack space about this
and
big.
it's your understanding Marks is not paying a dime
They're
for
not paying a dime. That's what I've been told.
that? Okay,
It is my intent when all this is finally done to go back to the county and say, fair's fair.
I understand that,
Either you raise theirs or you drop mine, one or the other. I don't care which happens.
right. I understand that.
But there is a contract in place for that, and the commissioners did vote, all 3 of them voted, 2 of them voted yes, 1 voted no.
More voted no?
You guessed it.
Okay. I guess, and I don't think I have anything else after this, but I just want is a personal opinion. Is it your feeling that Commissioner Moore is being hard on this whole process, your company, whatever you want to call it, because he doesn't like your product, he doesn't like you, or he doesn't like the process, or some combination thereof?
My personal opinion is what's the word, the phrase I use?
Collateral damage.
Collateral damage, thank you. In a pissing contest between two commissioners.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Morris said it from day one. He's repeated it to the public. He's repeated it to investigators. He's screaming from the rooftops. He is upset at the process. He is upset about the way Harry and Michelle started going at this. He's upset about how they wanted to give him a multi-million-dollar project with no bid. With just, here you go, CCI. Now you have control over the whole county. You're going to charge us exorbitant fees. At the end of the day, this is the one thing that I've learned about more through this investigation. He's a finance guy, and it financially didn't make sense. And he didn't even want a regional 911. But when we was going to be forced into a regional 911 by the safety services and other members, then Marks would be it because they're cheaper. That's the bottom line. And they're not using our infrastructure for your equipment in order for your equipment to work, relying on our infrastructure and using our state tax payer FCC license. Save Avon's FCC. You don't even have an FCC license to run for the bandwidth. You're using the city of Avon's and then charging us exorbitant fees on the back end. Mark said it'd be $10 a month, and they do upkeeps, and they're building towers. They're building infrastructure. Alan Close was not doing that.
Okay,
And I said that in the newspaper when they called me after the December comments that he made.
okay.
He hates her for whatever reason.
Well, let me throw a hypothetical at you. If Hung were happen to be gone, and they put another commissioner in there, do you think he's still going to go out of his way to make it tough on you, or do you think he would come around?
I don't think he would
Okay.
at that point.
So I just want to make sure that it's not something that
You're wrong,
that
Alan.
it's some personal reason or something like that.
He
'cause
believes
there's-
you're corrupt.
As you can imagine, you're in the middle of it, so I think you know. But there's all this back and forth, he said, she said stuff coming, and a lot of it is, some people are saying it's process, some people are saying it's personal. So I'm trying to get my hands around what it really is, whether or not your product is better than Mark's or better than whatever. That's irrelevant, right? What I'm saying is, if and we're retired law enforcement guys, so I get how that side of it works. Hey, we just want whatever's going to work. I don't want to be in a building and not be able to communicate. I don't want to do this. So whatever the product levels are, that's something for your two companies to argue about. Fair?
Yeah, it's fair.
So I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying is you don't think he's arguing about your product being inferior or Mark's product being superior or vice versa. You think it's a political thing, and because there's political infighting between the two of them, for whatever reason, he's making it hard on anybody.
Anyone that's associated with her by
So whether it's a radio system or flowers for the lobby, he's
could be
gonna
anything.
Okay, all right.
If anyone had any sort of a contact with her and there's a project moving forward, he is against her. I know he wants her removed. I know that.
Okay.
I mean, it's
He wants her removed because of this corrupt nonsense with this contract and with the 911 director. He wants her removed because of you, because it was no way appropriate for Michelle Hung to be involved in these 911, the city projects, in the county project, lobbying on behalf of communications at all. She should have just been making a decision after the administrator of the county brought it to her. But instead, she lobbied. She used the unions. She used her political influence. And she lied. Not only did she lie to her husband, she lied to the county when she hired this guy at $72,000 a year that she was sleeping with him. She should have never voted on that. And she should have also lied about what they were doing with Mission Critical Partners and Alan Close trying to win the fire chiefs this county project so they had funding on the back end to pay these exorbitant fees that were coming down the road. Using COVID cash. COVID cash, people.
Clear, all you gotta do is watch their interaction, anything.
Well, he doesn't, let me ask you this question. Do you think he wants, and I'm only asking you because you've been involved with,
Yeah.
you know, talking with these people and you kind of got a little bit better sense of what's going on in-house there than I do at this point. But do you think that he wants her out of there because of what's going on with this particular project? Or do you think he wants her out of there because of all this sexual scandal and,
I think it's the latter. It's the scandal.
so he's embarrassed or what, or I don't know, you tell me.
Maybe he's jealous. I don't know.
Okay.
I have no idea what his motivation is, but I think it's about the scandal.
If you guys have ever seen Dave Moore's wife, she is pretty. She is a very pretty woman. So I don't think he was jealous. Harry and Michelle at all. I mean, Dave Moore got a dime piece. Like, she's a pretty woman.
And her partner.
Outside of this particular thing.
Outside of this project. This project's just caught up in the storm. That's all.
Gotcha.
And if she's for it, he's against it. That's plain and simple.
Okay.
Bullshit, Alan.
A couple of things I just want to
Sure.
circle back to, and I think I'm done here. So you don't know this Harry Williamson before January 2021. He comes to you and says, hey, we're doing this project here. He provides you with the 911 build out there. He on his own sends you a copy of a competitor's bid and says, hey, can you beat this?
Yep.
You obviously beat it. You handle the project, even though it may not be to completion, but you're working on that.
Right.
As far as the countywide system, you said was $6 million some
About
change?
6.5.
Okay. That's in flux right now. It's kind of stopped, for lack of a better way to put it. And that, you're not aware, let me ask you, are you aware of what the internal processes are as far as Lorain County for a project of that magnitude? Meaning, do you know what their bid specs are, or what their requirements are for contracts
I
or
do.
doing business with the county?
I have to rely on the county employees to do what
Okay.
they have to do correctly.
Other than the tower, the 911 center, and this countywide system, have you done any other kind of business with the county?
I got a contract right here that I just printed this morning. It's connected to the 5 cities radio system. The county does dispatch for all the fire departments in that, except for North Ridgeville, in that corner of the county. And they need to add 6 radios to their telex consoles. That project got slowed down because of the scandal as well. It finally went through. I was finally able to get it done. And remarkably, 2 of the 3 voted affirmative and 1 voted negative.
But I'm glad you brought this up because I knew I was forgetting something. But I want to ask you about this.
Okay?
This $49,396.58, is that the total amount of the project?
Not to exceed.
Okay, and so if I asked you if there was this number concrete?
He starts getting
from the start,
nervous.
or
No, it wasn't.
What was the original number?
$50,001, if I remember right.
Okay, and are you aware that what the county bid spec threshold is?
I was told it's 50,000 after that went in at $50,001.
And so what happened, or how did that come down under 50,000?
They said it's got to go out to bid. If you can trim some money out of it, trim some money out of it. So I did.
Okay, and who told you that?
Jeff Young.
All right, so just so I'm clear about how this happened here, so they asked you for this. Dealing with this particular issue was with him back and forth.
Correct.
But you were instructed by the 911 guy to come in under 50 or we got to bid it out.
Correct.
And so do you know if he offered that option to anybody else, any other company?
I don't know that. Nope.
And other than your dealings with him when he was the fire chief, you have, that's the initiation of your relationship with him, right? You met him when he was the fire chief there?
Correct.
Okay. Do you have any communications back and forth with him about this, or was this verbally?
I believe it was a phone call, I think it was a phone call.
Did you
I may
send
have emails back and forth.
with the original bid?
I probably have that.
Is that on here?
No, it's not part of that. I don't have the original because it would have been through our software program. And when you modify a quote,
Right over.
it overwrites it, right?
But your recollection is that well, let me ask this question. You sent him the original bid, though?
Oh, yeah, I probably have an email with that. Yeah, let me pull that. I don't know if that's in the thumb drive or not.
Okay. You got anything you want to add? You do? Mr. DeVero, while we're waiting, anything?
You're covering it well.
He's talking to Kevin Monley, and Kevin Monley's about to come ask
Right.
questions.
While he's looking for that, though, I did want to ask you, going forward, if there should be a reason for additional document production, or if I have additional questions, do you want me to go through you?
Why don't you just, if you're sending him an email, just send it to him and then just copy me.
Okay.
If you want,
You want me to ask? I can instead of talking to him, I can, if just for economy of time and easy process here, if I have questions or something, I can email him the
yeah,
questions.
just email and then just copy me on it, so I know you're.
Okay, and then if you have an issue or something, you
yeah,
can let me know. Okay.
I'm fine with that. If you come again, just let us know that, and we'll.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I will or won't, but I just want to I always try to be above board. I don't want
In
to.
my experience, I think Kevin probably told you, I do a lot of work with local governments, and the procurement processes are similar to the county, the state. We work with charters and that type of thing. I mean, really, in my experience, they should have been talking to the county prosecutor's office. They probably have a civil lawyer who's assigned, saying, hey, is this got to go out? Is it professional service? Is it something that, depending on what it is, it may or may not be subject to RFP or the actual sealed bid process. So it would depend.
All right.
And I don't know what their product, they got to follow state law. It's 50,000, but there's exceptions to that too. So I don't know who was talking with them about that.
I understand.
So, I mean, you know that. But
I just want to make sure that I always try to be above board. I don't want to be that guy. But,
of course.
If it's going to take you a hot minute to look for it, we can come back to it. We can just finish this up.
I've got two things here that'll help explain a little bit.
Okay.
Let me check.
What district were you in Cleveland?
I started off in the 4th District. When I first came on in '93, I spent about 5 years there. Then I went to narcotics. I spent 17 years there.
So you know Matt Beppler?
Oh, yeah, you know Roland.
Yeah. And Paul?
And Paul.
And his dad?
And his dad, Greg, yeah.
His dad worked for me.
He was
Yeah,
a safety
great guy.
And his brother's fireman. I know.
He called me yesterday.
Oh,
A retired guy, yeah, with 3 pensions.
Yeah. Yeah,
So you
then
know
I-
the whole family.
Yeah, I mean, not personally, professionally,
Yeah.
but and then I went to organized crime in Intel for a little while, and then I got promoted, and I stayed in organized crime for about maybe 6 months or so as a supervisor there, and then they sent me to internal affairs, and I did that in
When'd you retire?
2018. And I was going to say I'd taken the lieutenant's test and all that, but this job came up, and they're pretty hard to come by, so when they offered it to me, I came
Paul's
up.
working in the impound lot now.
Correct,
Him and Ed Lentz.
correct. Yeah.
I mean, what a waste of talent for those guys there. But here's what it is.
Politics.
Yeah.
Fire your questions at him while I sit over here. Maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone here.
Alan, do you own any towers?
Do I own any?
Yeah.
I own one piece of junk up in the UP, Michigan.
You're renting one tower for the 5-city project. The other 2 towers, who owns those?
The cities do. And I don't pay a dime to be there.
That was my next question. Because it's their system that you're running on.
It's my system, but it's their,
It's,
it's for their use.
Pay attention
Was that
here.
part of the deal? Hey, give me your towers, and that's part of the system?
That's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
One of the other things they're doing. I don't know why. Here it comes. This is an important document you're gonna want.
Okay.
The city of Avon owns or possesses an FCC license for these frequencies that we're using. Without that license, even Lorain County couldn't build a radio system, since Avon already went to the FCC.
Lorain County can apply for FCC licenses. That's a lie. Alan Close cannot because he's the private business, and you need, in order to be approved for an FCC license, you have to be a government entity or a safety service organization. So that's bullshit.
FCC and said, we want these. Marks has taken all the rest of the frequencies that are available at 700 megahertz and spread them wherever they want them. So we got the 4 that were available. So I have 2 contracts with the city of Avon. One is to occupy their water tower, and one inside that is the use of their license for this radio system. Since as an independent businessman, I'm not allowed to own the 700 meg frequencies. That's for public safety only. So they're a willing participant, and they have the license, and they're willing to share it by contract with everyone who wants to use the system.
Gotcha.
Paid for by
Second
taxpayers.
one is a user contract for them, so they can pay me $10 a month for every radio and $40 a month for every control station, and any consoles has a different price. That's a separate contract. The other 4 have just that contract, except for Avon Lake. They have a site contract, because I use their water tower, just like Avon does, but there's no frequencies on that one.
Because they're using the frequencies from the other place.
Using Avon's, right. Now, in the bigger picture, when the county finally decides what they're gonna do, if I'm gonna add 5 more, then I have to go back to the FCC and add 5 more sites to the Avon license and spread it around the county.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So if Lorain County, well, I'm assuming they don't have, are you saying they don't have 700 and up licenses? What are they operating on now?
VHF, 150s.
Okay, so, wow.
Right.
Remember those from the old days?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you build this out, they're obviously gonna, well, hopefully decommission those, and then you would build the entire countywide site off of one of the 700 licenses that
That Avon owns.
Avon owns.
Yes.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. So what you have there, there's an email from Jeff Young that's discussing the $50,000.
Yep.
The alternative to lowering the price is to get a sole source letter, which I put together for them. The only guy in this area that sells Tate radios, so they didn't have to go to bid if they chose.
J.R. White is the current county
He's the-
administrator?
He's the current county administrator, so he's well aware of what was transpiring back and forth with Jeff.
Gotcha.
That's the modified quote.
Right.
I don't have any that says, here's the original quote,
Okay.
and that's the sole source letter, which legally allows the county not to have to go to bid if I'm the only source they can buy these radios from. And I,
However, pay attention because Alan Close is not the only source. The telex councils can take Tate radios or Kenwood, and the county just bought Kenwood radios from people around the county. Just bought Kenwood radios from Vastu Communications. So Alan Close, and they're about to bring this up, is not the sole source.
I know I'm the only one that sells Tate in this area. And when we selected
But
Tate,
Kenwood
because it's
could be
compatible
used.
with the telex consoles, so that the dispatcher can look at the module, and if she needs to talk in a different talk group, she just rolls through the radio, through the module and the dispatch console.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a single talk group and you can't steer the radio is what we call it.
So you're claiming, just so I understand this, that you're claiming even if this was 55,000,
They didn't have to go to bid
they didn't have to go to bid because you are the sole source.
for that product.
And what is your reasoning for that?
I'm the only guy in this area that sells that radio.
And that's the only radio that'll work on that system?
It's not the only one that'll work. Kenwood would work too, but I don't sell Kenwood.
So what would stop them from using Kenwood?
Nothing. If
On
they
that
want-
system.
They could. They could. On the telex consoles, they could do that.
So I guess I'm just
I have the same
I'm just being
relation-
devil's advocate here. If I'm
okay.
saying, I know this is your system, you built it out, and they have this need now for these radios, and you come in and say it's 50,000.
Or a sole source.
And sole source. But if I'm playing devil's advocate, I'm saying you're not the sole source. I can use these Kenwood radios on here, and if I could get them for 20
Sole
grand,
source for tape radios.
I
They
understand
can
it.
elect to do that. I have the same relationship with the city of Parma.
Mm-hmm.
I am the sole source vendor for the equipment that they buy for the radio system and the radios. They could buy Kenwood or Motorola if they wanted to. They
To work
don't
on
want
that
to.
system.
Yes.
Well, that's an internal decision that they have to make.
And they made an internal decision here.
Okay.
Now, subsequently, I don't think they ever went out to bid. I don't know that they ever got another proposal from someone else. That was never
On this.
communicated to me on that subject. But they ended up signing, I don't have the executed version, but you have my copy of the contract.
Okay.
How they choose to do their procurement is internal.
I get that. Hey, if they come to you and say, hey, we're gonna buy your radios, I mean, I get it. Yeah, all right, I'll sell them to you. I understand it. But I'm saying, just so I'm clear though, you could use a different radio than Tate
Correct.
on that system. It's just that you don't sell Motorola or
Or
Kenwood or
Correct.
any of these.
Which means, Alan, you're not the sole source.
Other. You want a radio from me? It's a Tate radio. That's all I got.
Because no, it's not all I got, but it's compatible with the product that they're using today. So they're pigeoned into, I can't sell them a Harris radio and give them the capability that the Tate has.
Okay,
But your entire argument this entire time was selling Ellsworth Harris radios, but then you're selling 911 telex consoles that are only Tate and Kenwood radio compatible. You see where your story is getting effed, Alan?
all right, I think I got it now. So this Tate radio, but there are radios that aren't Tate that will work,
To do the same thing that the Tate is designed to do, yes.
right? And
Yes.
is the quality the same?
I can't speak to that.
Okay, but it will work.
Yes, it'll do the job.
And so are you telling me that this is a situation where it would have been the county's decision? I mean, what they
Which
wanted to
vendor to
do,
go
so
for.
you wouldn't have anything to do with that?
No.
I mean, other than going in there and saying, hey, I like Tate, I think Tate's the best, that's my flavor. of the
I
month.
think Harris is the best, but they don't give the same capability that the Tate radio does.
For what they're
For
trying
what-
to do here.
Right, for the
Okay,
situation
gotcha.
that we're in here,
All right,
yes.
all right, I get it.
Yeah, I'll make copies of that when they leave, so I have
Okay,
my file.
yeah, oh, I can have Vicky just.
Yeah, go ahead. Make a copy. Anything else?
Of course he does.
You should know, he worked for you long enough, right?
He used to come in my office and tell me what was going on from time to time, and just shake my head. Remember the back door? The back door to the mayor's office, up just
The
the...
escape route.
I never
Yes,
came
you
to
did.
your office. Never. That's not the
Well,
chain.
I remember.
That's not the chain of command. The telex consoles, they didn't work in Huron County. Why would they work with the 5 cities? If it's the same Harris system.
It currently is not the same Harris system right now. The 5 cities are adding Tate radios themselves. And they're not directly compatible with the Harris product. So they put these Tate radios in there to make them compatible.
And I'm only assuming if the 5 cities went with Tate or Harris, or your system, and the county went with Marks, they wouldn't be compatible, or would they
The
be?
2 systems are not compatible.
So there would be no interface.
The radios could be programmed on either of the systems, but if the county goes to Marks, my system will not talk to the Marks system today. And that's been a 15-year sore under my saddle to get, there is a device that would allow that to happen.
This device he's about to talk about, Marks and the cell phone companies, will never, it's a security issue, will never allow this to happen, and he knows it.
But Columbus has steadfastly said, no, we're not doing that, we're not doing that. Motorola is telling them, you don't want to do that. because that opens the door to competition. And they have a monopoly in all but Ottawa, Huron, Parma, Medina, and Lorain counties. And there's a couple of smaller counties that don't have either us or Marks. They're just conventional. So for the majority of the counties, roughly 80 of the counties in the state, they're all on Marks.
Even though the systems wouldn't be compatible, the individual radios, could you program multiple
Yes,
frequencies in them? So
Multiple
they would literally have to,
yes.
okay, I'm
That's
with you.
what, and that's what happens in Cleveland.
Right.
Cleveland's got its own moto system, the state's above them, and then there's a Parma system. Every radio in this county is programmed for all three systems.
But they have to physically
You have to physically touch the knob.
touch the knob to make it happen. So I have to get off of Cleveland's system to get on the state, or get off the state to get on Cleveland.
And now, if they decide to finally, and there's a whole nother project going forward for House Bill 478, is to force the state of Ohio to spend $1 million to buy the inter-subsystem interface.
Not gonna happen.
ISSI. If this finally succeeds, the state will have to buy the computer system that can then link our two systems together. So you don't have to grab your radio. You just go from Cleveland into Lorain County.
And automatically.
It automatically, just like your cell phone does, not quite as fast, but.
Right.
just-
But it'll
just like-
automatically plug you into 911
Exactly.
center in Lorain County, so you can at least talk to.
Well, you'll maintain contact with your folks.
Right.
If you were in.
Oh, I'm sorry, but it'll allow you to
Roll.
roam as far as you gotta go.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you.
Would your proposal to the county been different than a bid if you would have put a bid in?
No, the same equipment,
Same,
everything would have been the same, yeah.
that's all I got.
Okay.
Anything we're not asking you that you think we need to know?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know what you guys know that I don't know that you want to know. If that makes any sense.
Not really, but I think I know what you're trying to say.
If you,
I mean, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you thought maybe, man, he should have asked me this? Or
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
need to tell him that? I mean, look, at the
there-
end of the day, if we're done here and something comes up, you know, you have my email, you
I'll
feel
send it
free.
by email, so
Yeah, you know,
everybody's got me.
obviously
Sure.
I
through
told
him. and-
Todd if he's got any follow-ups, just send it to you and copy me,
that's fine.
Yeah, and I think that's
then we can chat.
I know
Fair,
there's
so-
one thing that everyone's up in arms about was the first North Ridgeville council meeting.
yeah,
Michelle and Harry were both there at that meeting, and we happened to sit together. We didn't come together, we didn't coordinate coming to that meeting.
Okay.
I was actually asked to be there by John Reese, the fire chief, because his guys were gonna be there in opposition of what the mayor wanted to do.
right.
So, but everybody's, oh, they go to meetings together, that was in his diatribe on December 8th.
Gotcha.
So I'm sure that's somewhere in your file.
Okay. I don't think I have anything else. We'll end this now. Time now is 10:21.
Oh, this is a long episode. So that was Alan Close's first interview. He would then again be interviewed in 2023 by Greg Kapinski, and Kapinski, actually I have this in front of me. Kapinski really asks him about where he met Dana Gollner. And he is going to be significant, and we will be talking about going over some clips from Dana Gollner tomorrow. We'll also be going, if not tomorrow, Sunday morning. We'll also be going over, just out of my schedule yet. Oh, excuse me. Dana Gollner, and then we'll also be going over the interview of I can't think right now. Vasu Communications, Dick Miller, what he saw, what he experienced. We'll be doing some more clips of Dave I have, and then the HR director, Jen Sinatra, to give you an outside perspective of what was going on. We're gonna have some emails to go over, but we're gonna start here with the Auditors Investigation, kind of go over 2122 again, just to kind of refresh you guys. And also, you know, hearing stuff from these people themselves gives you a better understanding than me just explaining what I heard from what these people said. I really think, Alan, we needed to listen to the entire interview because you are going to now, when we go forward, catch some untruths. We're going to show some emails that, also, show some untruths. The biggest takeaway here is, one, Dave Moore has been speaking out about this, and not just because Michelle had some affair and he cares about who Michelle's sleeping with, but because the context of them lobbying for this vendor, this private consultant lobbying for this vendor. And what I'm going to prove to you guys with evidence, with actual documents, emails, is that he was right. He might have not known at the time that they were colluding. He might not have known they were talking, but they were. They were also meeting with this Dana Gollner, who was some ex-cop from Beechwood, retired because I believe it was because he shot a unarmed citizen. Has an energy unlimited company that he was working out of. He had to for 10 years, only did a couple deals, couldn't tell you. It's just shady. The whole thing is shady. And his connections with Huron County, stay focused, Lorain County, soak in this this interview. Now, if you want to stay on the next 8 minutes, I'm going to play the Ohio, when he went in front of the Ohio legislator, because I loved how the legislator kind of questioned him, like, you're saying Marx is a bad system, but yet you want, his argument pretty much wasn't making sense. Give me a second, I gotta find it here. Where are you? Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play it from my website because it's gonna be easier that way. Main Street News. Lorain County files. Okay. May. Here we go. Alan Close, Lorain County, will be joining soon. And before I play this all the way through, and by the way, Lorain County at this point is not contracted with him, he didn't even sent the proposal yet. So why would you think we would be joining you if you haven't even sent a mother trucking proposal yet to the county? Like, make it make sense, Mr. Alan Close. I'm going to let you have the next 8 minutes. You're going to watch, if you want to watch what he said in the state legislature in 2021 before he even sent a proposal to the county. Very confident trying to get this ISSI connection. Like I said earlier in the episode, if you wanted to get money out of the state budget, you don't come 2 years later when they are finalizing the budget to request $1 million that you've been trying to get this ISSI onto the Mark system to make it able for you to access their system. Like I said, cell phone companies are never going to lie. It's just never going to happen. And he knew it. This was a show. This was a show. So stay focused. I'll see you tomorrow. I have a little bit more energy for you guys. Tomorrow or don't call me tomorrow. Sunday morning maybe, as well. Just because it might be a little easier for me Sunday morning. But you might see me in the morning. Who knows? Stay focused. I'm going to be combining the first and the second. I'll be re-uploading to the book and the other things, the combined episode, or go to any podcast platform. Spotify will actually have the video, but any other podcast platform, and this entire episode will be on one, and it's going to be like a 3-hour episode, a little over 3 hours, but I believe it's entertaining enough and worth it and totally relevant to what's going on in Lorain County. And fast forward through it. You don't need to listen to all of it, but you get the gist. All right. Talk to you soon.
Our testimony today varies just slightly from what you were given earlier, but Chairman Dolan, Vice Chair Gavarone, Ranking Member Sykes, and members of the Senate Finance Committee, thank you for allowing us to testify as an interested party on House Bill 110, the state biennial budget. My name is Alan Close. I'm the president of Cleveland Communications, Inc., a family-owned small business located in Parma. I have with me today Tim Sopkovich, the police chief of Brunswick Hills Township in Medina County. Cleveland Communications is an L3 Harris public safety radio system integrator dedicated to providing best-in-class communications equipment and services for first responders throughout northern Ohio. We maintain radio systems for the city of Parma, Ottawa County, Huron County, Medina County, the city of Elyria, and soon Lorain County. The large number of county and city agencies that depend on these critical communication systems know that Cleveland Communications and L3 Harris are dedicated to providing that critical lifeline they depend on, not just for day-to-day communications, but for those moments when lives depend on being able to communicate emergency information. These agencies have chosen specifically not to join the multi-agency radio communication system known as MARCS, offered by the state of Ohio through the Department of Administrative Services. Art Mead, the EMA director of Huron County, has already testified on why Sheriff Corbin of Huron County elected to go with L3 Harris. But the reasons why local agencies have used their public tax dollars for non-MARCS systems are cost, control, coverage, and customer service. They have purchased a radio system that they own that costs less, provides greater coverage, and has better customer service than the MARCS system. Simply, they have purchased the radio system that best fits their local needs.
Thank you for this opportunity to address this committee. Most of the first responders in Medina County have been using L3 Harris and the Cleveland Communications radio system since 2015 for critical communications we rely on every day. As chief of Brunswick Hills Police Department, I am a MARCS radio user. My dispatch functions come through the city of Brunswick. This creates an interoperability issue with the Medina County Sheriff's deputies, Hinckley police officers, and Medina Township police officers that we heavily rely on for backup in critical situations. Ohio MARCS radio system does not provide me with acceptable coverage, often leaving my police officers without the ability to talk to Brunswick Dispatch Center. All my radios are programmed to operate on the Medina County L3 Harris radio system. When the Ohio MARCS system suffers an outage, I'm able to switch to the Medina County radio system, but I lose contact with my dispatch center with the city of Brunswick when I do that. The ISSI is simple but important link to allow my officer to use the Medina radio system full-time with superior coverage while allowing me to maintain contact with Brunswick City Dispatch.
The below graphic shows the non-MARCS agencies in northern Ohio. The issue that is becoming more of a problem in these radio systems currently don't have the ability to communicate and be interoperable with the MARCS system. A critical link between the L3 Harris networks in northern Ohio and the Ohio MARCS system is desperately needed. Fortunately, this problem has an easy solution, one that we have been proposing to DAS for several years. Both Ohio MARCS and the L3 Harris networks in Ohio are APCO P25-based systems. APCO P25 provides a design standard for interfacing disparate radio systems in the ISSI, which connects these systems at the highest level. Giving the two systems the ability to talk to each other only requires DAS to purchase the inter-subsystem interface, the ISSI, which once installed will allow for communication between the two networks. We proposed an amendment to House Bill 110, which would provide the funding for DAS to purchase the ISSI from Motorola for Ohio MARCS, which, when installed, will be interfaced to our L3 Harris ISSI in Parma, completing the link between the two networks. This purchase would allow for local governments, law enforcement, health and safety first responders to continue to purchase the radio system that best fits their needs while also providing true interoperability between the systems. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Senator Gavarone.
Thank you for your testimony. With the ISSI radio system, the connector, would that connect other systems as well? across the state or only the L3 Harris?
Senator Gavarone, Senator Dolan, the ISSI is designed to interface APCO P25-based systems. If there are any others than L3 Harris and Motorola, they could also be interfaced.
Do you know how many other systems across Ohio are not the interface that would work with the ISSI?
Senator Gavarone, Senator Dolan, there are 6 that we take care of today. I don't know of any others in the state of Ohio that are currently there, other than some of the Motorola systems that are on the air, such as the city of Cleveland, Toledo. They are not interfaced to Marks. They are standalone radio systems from the same vendor that Marks uses. And the ISSI could be employed to connect them to Marks as well.
Senator Gavrone.
Can you give me an idea geographically in Ohio how much of the state would have coverage if the ISSI were purchased?
Sure. Senator Gavarone, Senator Dolan, the coverage that I'm currently configuring when I put all my systems together will roughly cover from Toledo to Akron and Cleveland down to Mansfield. Thank you.
Senator Antonio.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for your testimony. How long have you been using this ISSI system, or how long has your business been providing these kinds of radios to police?
Sure.
Yeah.
Senator Antonio, Senator Dolan, the Cleveland Communications has been around for 40 years, always located in Parma, Ohio. We employ ISSI technology for our critical link to the AT&T FirstNet system. We are one of the only, that I'm aware of, only private entities that has a direct connection through the ISSI to AT&T's FirstNet.
Okay, I'll follow. Thank you. I'm trying to fit this in because over the years I've been very aware of Mark systems, and so what I'm trying to sort through here is so Chief Sopovich, you said that you use the Mark system, you're a Mark's radio system user, but sometimes it goes down, and I'm trying to understand, do you actually have both systems operating depending on what community you're in? I'm trying to sort
Yes,
through,
ma'am.
your advocacy.
All right, give me 1 second because you have to hear her. She kind of it's like a gotcha moment. You know what I mean? Hold on, I gotta go to the YouTube though. It's on the YouTube. Where's my YouTube? And this is just for the people that want to stay on that are interested in hearing. If you don't want to jump right off of this at any time, I just find it interesting, so I figured you might. Oh, come on. Lorain County report. I had it up here, and then I didn't. Okay, here we go. Or I'll be able to find quick because it's right.
Is a lack of
Sorry. Videos, here we go.
ISSI to AT&T's FirstNet.
So Chief Sopovich, you're a Mark's radio system user, but sometimes
She's
it goes
laughing because it doesn't
down,
make sense.
and I'm trying to understand, do you actually have both systems operating depending on what community you're in? I'm trying to sort through your advocacy for this, but I'm trying to sort through, are you wanting to move from Marks, or
Senator Antone, Senator Dolan. Currently, right now, my radios are programmed with the Harris L3 system and the MARC system. My main radio communication from dispatch is through the Brunswick MARC system. I do have officers because we're a multi-jurisdictional SWAT team.
Right.
So I have to have those radios programmed when my officers are having calls and assisted while they're assigned to the Medina County Sheriff's Office. So right now, the complication that comes in is I'm dispatched through MARCs, and then my officers are operating on another channel that's L3, Medina County Sheriff's Radio. And then that also comes my officers are bordering situations. The Sheriff's Office is our primary backup along with the City of Brunswick. Again, Brunswick's on MARCs, Sheriff's are on Harris. There is that communication where I think right now it's very vital that we should be able to switch immediately and we're all on the same talk group.
Okay, and one last time.
Senator Antonio.
Thank you. And so in your testimony, you mentioned that you did provide an amendment. Was that in the House or the Senate?
Senator Antonio, Senator Dolan, it started in the House.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Of those systems interfaced with your communications, you would be able to switch back and forth, is what you're saying. Am I right?
Yeah. Senator Antone, yes.
Okay.
Senator Sykes.
Just a question. What you're proposing just sounds very, very reasonable. It would seem that law enforcement, statewide would like to have this type of capability and communication connection. I'm just wondering, is there some resistance to doing this? Do you know of?
Senator Sykes, Senator Dolan, the only resistance I know of comes from the MARCS operation. We have for years, approximately 10 years, been trying to convince them that this is a necessary interface. And each time the promises are made and it always becomes a funding issue, which is why we're asking for the amendment in the DAS budget.
It's not a funding, it's a privacy issue, and cell
What
phone
is the amount
companies said
that you're
no.
requesting in the amendment?
Senator Sykes, Senator Dolan, it is, we're at $100, likely less than that.
So for the question, does Cleveland Communications charge a fee for your L3 Harris system per radio?
Senator Dolan, Cleveland Communications does not own a radio system. We design them, we install them, and we maintain them for the customers. Currently, none of the L3 Harris systems charge a fee in Ohio.
And so they're funded out of how? The local law enforcement's budget? The amendment specifically mentioned Motorola, and if it does, is Motorola the only one that sells this ISSI system?
Now, real quick, did you hear what he said? L3 Harris does not own a radio system. I do not own a radio system. He's a radio vendor.
It doesn't specifically mention Motorola, but it is likely. But because it's a Motorola infrastructure that the state owns, it has to come from Motorola.
Seeing no further questions, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, sorry. Senator Romanchuk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apologize for that.
Listen to Roman
you
Chuck,
mentioned
because
that
this is
Mark's
a big
radio-
argument of theirs.
Radios go out from time to time. How often does that occur and for how long?
Because of my capability with the L3 Harris system, we have phase 2 radio, so we're able to communicate with Medina County Dispatch for any emergency calls. Since then, other downs has been for maintenance that I'm aware of. Not very long, but back in December, we were down for quite some time.
How long? Hours, days?
It was just a couple hours.
Couple hours?
Yeah, it was December, right around Christmas time.
Follow up?
Senator Romanchuk.
And then, Chief, is it your testimony today that the L3 Harris system is better than the Marks and you prefer to stay on the L3 Harris?
Senator Romanchuk, Senator Dolan. Right now, yeah, there are some short downfalls with the MARC system in our areas. I guess no radio system is going to beat that. We do have hills, valleys, but there are some areas that the MARC system does not operate as expected that I would like to see. This ISSI would also give us that ability to communicate with areas that I am out that I can go to the Harris system.
Okay, thank you. And one last one, Mr.
Go ahead.
Chairman. So, who specifically are you working with? Who has this amendment or who is having it drafted?
Senator Romanchuk, Senator Dolan, we have spoken with Senator Manning about this subject.
Okay, thank you. That's all I need.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Manning.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I offered the amendment. My 2 counties are certainly covered in this with Huron and Lorain County. I can certainly get that to members. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining me today on Mean Street. I hope you enjoyed the show. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider supporting our work and supporting my effort. You can support directly underneath at the Spotify donations, or you can directly give a donation at paypal.me/Mean Street, Ohio. Any donation received will help me continue to provide news to you and everyone else across Ohio and beyond. I love what I do, and I just hope to continue to do it. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining.